So let me see. Yeah, I think this should be fairly easy then. All good, I guess. Fulera, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to disturb you for today. It's mostly the CV session. Um,
Yeah, I don't mind like joining, like sitting by the conversation.
no, thank you.
Okay.
I'll try and ask a few questions, see if I need some clarification on it. And please, when you join, kindly mute. Um, yeah. Mhm. Let me just do this, go back to overleaf and get to see what I have my CV as. Okay. Latif, let me know when it's time. I can assist. I think we start at 9:05, a minute, guys.
Yeah, let's give them some 1 more minute.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think it's about time. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. The name again is Farouk Abdul-Salam. I'm here with Latif and Fulera to assist you guys with the CV session, as we mentioned earlier. Today's discussion is mostly on the technical side of things, just so you guys can understand in terms of formatting your CV, getting it in the right format, getting to put what where. You guys can have a feel of it. Hopefully, with the presence of Latif and Fulera, I can get some extra insight in helping you guys draft it. As usual, feel free to ask questions if you have any. Um, we are happy to address them. So let me quickly start by going through the whole idea of a CV. What I realized in during the initial stages of this program, the types of CVs that I receive, you see someone presenting a CV in a Word document, getting it so misaligned, not knowing where to put the education. If the person has the education and has a first class, not knowing how to sell his or her, grade points. And if the person does a research, it's a bit quiet. You don't get to see what the person has done. You don't get to see how the person can probably tell the committee that, hey, I have this or I have that, quite apart from what the statement of purpose might bring out. So these are some difficult stuff that I realize, or some challenges that I realize when I um examine the preliminary CVs that I came across and the need for us to have a more standard CV. And thankfully, with a more standard CV, um, we can help everyone, right? So if, for instance, we have this session and you guys come ask your questions and I put out the materials to help you format your CV, I do not have to attend to each and everyone on the page because we now have a more standardized approach where everyone can go in and then help his or his himself essentially. So that's the most important thing for today's discussion. So it's going to be a bit more detailed in terms of what we think should be on your CV. And it's going to be an open discussion. There might be some points that I think you think isn't right. So you can call me out on that. And I go like, okay, yeah, I think you guys are right. We should take it up. Or Latif will come in and go like, no, I think we should look at it from this perspective, or we should look at it from that perspective, just like Fulera as well. So please feel free to ask questions. We are not the final authority. You guys are. So just make sure you come in and ask questions and tell us that no, we should put this here or we should put this there. So before I go on with today's discussion, let me quickly walk you through some of the videos that might really help you guys understand what the whole idea of the CV is about. I believe before today's discussion, I sent a couple of videos that can really help you. So let me quickly share this one as well, just so you guys can get to pick up the necessary discussion that we had. So let me just go here. Maybe and go ahead and have a look at it from here.
My name is Catherine Irvin.
Then we go to Farouk that we sent earlier, just so everyone can be on the same page. Take you guys to the TV session that we had earlier, just so we can have it in a more standard approach. So this was last year's program. I shared the materials with you, and I think this is going to be very important.
This is how AI
Let me
optimizes my schedule. This meeting got canceled. Hooray! We didn't really want to go.
So please, the discussion we're gonna have it might be similar to what I sent earlier. So this should be it. Please have a look at this video. If you have any issue, you can have a look at it. This is the discussion you had last year, 2023. Have a look at it if it can help you. Then again, if you are interested in following up and drafting your CV, you can have a look at this follow-up.
You can just click.
This follow-up discussion where I just walk you through the technicalities of it. So in terms of formatting your CV, it's going to be extremely easy for you to do if you are to watch this video and follow the link that I attached to it. So it should be easy. Don't feel pressured. If you have any question, just ask me. And thankfully, we do have the materials to help you. Now, let's go ahead and start with today's discussion. Today's discussion, I'm going to give you guys two options in terms of how to format your CV. You can go ahead and look at it from this black and white perspective, which is this format that we have here. Nothing colorful. The details are going to be fairly similar, but in terms of color, this one wouldn't have enough color. I will give you guys the materials to format your CV in this way. This will be the first format, if you so wish. The second format might be a bit more colorful if you want to use it. Again, the structure is essentially the same, but in terms of the color and in the format, it might be different. I think I do have both available. If you guys want to use it, happy to assist you with. So let's delve deeper into what we have for today. So this is going to be the start of your CV. The very first section of your CV is more or less like your header, right? Your name, which is very important. If there is a needed address that you want to attach, you can add to it. If you don't have any address to add to it, that's okay as well. Then your number, if you think giving that information might help, feel free to do so. Your email address, if you are to have any, feel free to do so as well. You can write your email address there. And if you are to have any website, I think website is now easy given the fact that we now have Google Docs and Google Sites. You can easily format your website if need be. And if you have any extra source of communication that you probably might want to make it available for others to see, you can equally put it there for them to see. Now here, this will be a bit different. Okay, so in the reason why you sometimes see citizenship when it comes to CVs within the whole Canadian system is even the American system for that matter. If they want to hire you, they really want to see whether you do have the documents. They don't want to hire you, and then at the end of the day, they have to come and apply for a visa for you and what have you. So some of the CVs that you come across might have citizenship. This is more channeled towards work-related requirements. And in your case, I don't think citizenship will be essential here, so you can decide to take it out. So if you had to look at the black and white CV as well, we do have the same vibe to it, but it's a bit more basic, right? Now, let me go ahead and have a look at this in detail in terms of your header. Now, what you realize here is my CV has link enabled. That is to say, you can Google me or have a look at who you are trying to hire or who you are trying to pick as your student. If this is the case that you have a LinkedIn related profile, you can add that link to your CV, and whenever the person is to click your name, then it goes directly to the website that you have. If, for instance, you have a LinkedIn profile and you want to link your LinkedIn to your CV, you can do that as well. And as soon as the person clicks it, and if it is LinkedIn enabled, it can go directly to the LinkedIn profile. Okay, so that's how to activate your profile from the beginning. Now, in terms of your phone, you can do that as well. Your email address, you can equally do that. The person can equally click on this, and directly the person can email you. So it is doable. So at the end of the day, the whole idea here is as we draft our CV, we can make it link enabled, in which case that we can equally get things moving from there. If this is your website and you want to add a link to it, you can do that as well. So let me pause here. If you guys have any question, Latif, if you have any follow-up, if you have any addition to it, let me know. Happy to get your insights on that. Latif, is the link
I think there is,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there is a question here,
Sure.
and I think you actually answered that. That's the difference, like between LinkedIn and Google site, which one is preferred in the for you to use in your CV, and I think you just answered that. I don't know if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, I think as you rightly mentioned, either should work. So in my case, the first thing, for instance, is mostly website enabled. The second one is LinkedIn enabled. You can have a mixture of both. Whatever I think works for you, I think is good. Some of you wouldn't have a website at this moment, and it might be mostly on your LinkedIn, but just make sure your LinkedIn is very rich in terms of what you put there. So for instance, when you go to my LinkedIn profile, let me see what I have it here. Hopefully I do. Let me see yeah. If you go to my about section, I'm very detailed. It's essentially the same as my website, because if you come here, you can get to read about me and get to see what I have, right? So if you're a student and you don't have the website at this time, I don't think that's crucial. But if you have your LinkedIn, just make it a point to always update your LinkedIn to reflect who you are and the type of opportunities you are trying to, get. Any follow-up questions, Latif? Any additional insights from your end as well? And Fulera, please feel free to delve in if you have any follow-ups.
Yeah, I think someone is also asking whether this is a standard format for an academic CV. So I think the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah. So this is going to be the standard format. For a standard format, academic CV, we all have different backgrounds, right? So if, for instance, you might be from English, or you might be from statistics, or you might be from chemistry, whatever background you have, there are some core details that you should have on your CV. And that's what we're gonna cover. If there are some additional insights that your department might want you to have, you can consider that as well. But in today's discussion, these are going to be some core ideas that we should have on our CV, regardless of our background. Any questions, any follow-ups?
No questions, then you can proceed.
Okay. Now, whatever we said here in terms of the header, again, as I mentioned, you can make it very simple. You wouldn't need your website if you don't have any. You wouldn't need your LinkedIn if you don't have any, but it's good to have. So let's assume that we've done that homework and we have this initial header. The next question is what comes next? So what comes next might be you going straight to your qualification. I see the situation where individuals might probably, summarize in 3 or 4 lines something about themselves. I think that's okay. That's more along the lines of maybe a work-related CV. But for now, if you are thinking more in terms of academia, I would rather think that your education should come first. And this is an example of what I'm trying to say here. Let me see whether I have my CV here and then give you guys 1 or 2 pointers. Maybe that can help you see what I'm talking about. Let me see. So this is my CV. So some of the CVs that you come across, and I occasionally see that you guys ask me, can you share your CV with me? Can you share your CV with me? It's a bit dangerous in the sense that mine is more work related and you guys might be more academic related. So we might be a bit more careful. So what you see here, I start with a profile in the sense that I can make a case for myself in terms of my experience and what I'm looking for. But in terms of your CV, getting into the grad school, I don't think this particular profile will be essential, but I don't think it hurts if you are to have it. So for now, let's assume we don't have it. If you guys have any follow-up question on that, let me know. Latif, what do you think about this summary section that people sometimes occasionally add? And Fulera, have you come across it?
I think I personally added that when I
Mm,
was applying for when I was doing my applications way back in 2019, but I normally keep it very brief
mm,
and tailor it towards academics. So not to the not tailoring everything to the corporate world or the industry. So it is very, very important to tailor it. So for example, I think I added something like um, seeking an opportunity to pursue a good master's, and that would serve as a stepping stone towards my PhD or something. I think something like that.
mm,
So it is okay to add that, but yeah.
no, thank you. Um, Before Josephine comes in, Fulera, do you have any pointers to this particular profile section as well?
Yeah, I think Brother Latif has said it, but sometimes in most cases I see that the summary comes in what related CV, but
Mm,
for the academic CV, like it's good to start with your education. And some of the things you mention in the summary, sometimes you mention it in your SOC.
mm,
So yeah, but it doesn't hurt to add it if like you want to add it.
sure, thanks. Josephine, please use the mic.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Mhm. Good evening.
And so this is what I've also noticed that instead of the profile,
Mm,
it's a rather objective.
mm,
That's more or less a summary of your SOP,
mm,
and then also I think coupled with a summary of your education, your CV per se.
mm.
And that's what I've seen, but I want to find out if that's essential when you're writing your CV, your graduate CV.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is going to be very important, and just like what Latif mentioned, right? In getting your CV and getting these whole idea as to your summary or your profile, or your objective, we need to be a bit more careful. So if you have a background just like Latif and myself, we are both from economics and statistics, and then in trying to get into a grad school, it doesn't really matter. We are not trying to sell ourselves to individuals or professors. We're not trying to sell ourselves to professors who own labs. and they will make a decision before a whole committee will make a decision. Ours is different. Ours is we just apply, a whole committee will come in and make a decision, and at the end of the day, we get in. But if you are coming from a different background like chemistry or physics, where you have to, first of all, grab the attention of the lab professor or the professor who owns the lab, who will give you the go ahead before you even apply to the school, then you have to be very careful. Why do you have to be very careful? Imagine the situation where you have a very generic summary. You go like, I'm interested in chemistry, or I'm interested in mechanical engineering and aerospace engineering as it relates to X. You do it generic for all schools. But the professor who is interested in hiring you is interested in Y. And you write your nice summary indicating you are interested in X. The professor says he or she is interested in Y. The fact that this is generic and it goes to the professor, the likelihood of he or she picking you is going to be extremely low. So we have to be very careful. Actually, I heard this from Professor Solomon Boache, who is in the sciences, and he has been very critical of the students in the sciences, how they write their CV. You don't have to tell them that, hey, this is what I want. No, that's not up to you. They have the money, and they have the lab, and they have the research they are trying to conduct, and you have to tailor your CV to match their research. So in the nutshell, those in the sciences should be careful. Those in the economics, English, statistics, having a generic version wouldn't hurt you. Let me know if that answers your question. If not, happy to clarify further.
I think I get it now. Thank you so much for
Sure, you're
thank
welcome. Latif, any additional points to this? Happy to listen to, and Fulera as well. Sorry.
No, from my end.
Okay. If there are no follow-ups, then we can go to the education, get to see how we structure our education, and then yeah. So this is what we have, right? So at the end of the day, imagine the situation where you have your summary, given that you know what you are going for, and the next thing here is your education. Now, in terms of your education, we have to be a bit more specific, right? So you went to University of Ghana, good. In terms of where University of Ghana is, it might be in Accra, Ghana, good. Your graduation class, did you get a first class? If you had a first class, please make it a point to mention that you had a first class. If you had a first class and you are silent about it, you don't mention it here, then I guess that wouldn't be good, right? So it's always the case that whenever you have a first class, you have to mention it. Now with the first class as well, we have varying grade points. It might be the case that you barely had the first class, right? Maybe 3.6. Maybe with that, putting the grade points here wouldn't be necessary. But if, for instance, you are extremely good and you had 3.9 out of 4.0, then I encourage you guys to write that particular class point here, 3.9 out of 4.0, because that stands out. So please make it a point to know how to sell yourself. Now, to those who have second class, upper, you can write your graduation class if it's a second class upper. It might be the case that you nearly made the first class. Maybe you had 3.59 out of 4.0, and you needed 0.01 to make it to the first class. Here as well, it wouldn't hurt to write the grade points. But if you had a second class upper on the lower end of the threshold, then I wouldn't really recommend that you write that particular grade point there. So this is how to play the game in trying to understand how to sell yourself. I'm not sure I'm making sense here. Latif or Fulera, what do you guys think here before we take the questions?
Yeah, I think that's I think you are right. If you have a strong GPA, because the whole idea is that you are selling yourself to the admission committee. So whatever would make you stand out, you should put it on your CV. As far as it is relevant to their decision making, you should put it there. So if you have a first class and a strong CGPA, you should definitely put it there. But if you don't have a first class and a second class, and it's your GPA is not that strong, then you are better off not putting it there. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Fulera, you had that. Oh, okay. iPhone, pick it up from there. Then I'll take from Josephine as well.
Okay, good evening, Doc.
Yeah, you are. Good evening.
This is Smiler.
Okay.
Doc, my question is, assuming you are doing your master's program, but still in session, so you are not done with it. So the educational side, I don't know, can you like put that info inside the CV? And
Yeah.
I realize that
Yeah.
if it's Manitoba for my program, maybe agribusiness, they require a biographical sketch. So in the biographical sketch, like since they don't require the CV, I don't know, in the biographical, you can you capture maybe you doing the masters, maybe it's still in session, you don't have the certificate ready. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So if you don't have the certificate ready and you are still within that program, this is where the year is going to be very important for you, right? So essentially, what you write here is from September 2029 to current, right? So if you go back to my CV, for instance, an example is here, right? So this is where I'm currently working, right? And I've not left the place yet, right? So you can instead of putting a particular year, you can put current, just so you indicate to them that, hey, I still have I'm still here, right? Or you can write what we term as expected graduation date, right? You put it down there, expected graduation date, and you write the particular date there to reflect it. Okay, so if you guys are within a program and you're trying to write a CV to reflect that, this is how we can go about it. Expected graduation date, or in terms of the date, you write from this particular date to current, which implies you are still there. Did that answer the question? Sumaila,
Yes, Doc. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Any additional question on that? Okay. So this is good. Then comes the next one, right? Because you guys are mostly undergrads and just about to get to grad school, you wouldn't have enough in terms of your education. It's either your first degree, which we just finished discussing right now, or your high school. Here as well, you can use your high school and sell it better, right? So if, for instance, you went to a for opinion where I went to, and I'm always proud of this particular school of opinion, and you did business, and you are going to do something related to economics. It's always the case that you can sell yourself by taking some courses that you think will be relevant. So for instance, if you're going to do economics in University of Saskatchewan, where Latif completed, or University of Manitoba, where I went to, economics always requires you to have mathematics. And within your high school, it might be the case that you did business, but you did elective maths on top of it. So you can write some of these relevant courses that might be relevant to the school that you are going to apply to, just so you can sell yourself, right? So I did elective mathematics, so I can write it here just so the committee can see that, oh, he has some math related training or math related background on top of what he's trying to sell here, right? And again, here as well, he has economics and statistics. So the trajectory is very consistent in terms of his mathematical strength. So this is a way to sell yourself by using your high school, even though that might be seen as something that shouldn't be here, but you can use it to sell yourself better. So I'll just pause here, take some pointers from Latif and Fulera, then we can take your questions as well.
So what I will add to that is that yeah, you said, it is very, very important to show them the prerequisite of what they are looking for. So, for example, if you are coming in to do economics at the graduate level, one most important thing that they are looking at for is a strong background in mathematics. So, if you put in mathematics or accounting, or if you've done some high school calculus level or calculus, algebra, you should actually put it there because they are looking out for that. So if you are in the sciences as well, you should also think about the most relevant subject that would put you on the higher rank when they are reviewing your document.
Absolutely.
Fulera, I don't know if you have something to add to that.
No, actually, you said it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Latif, I don't know whether we have some technical issue here. Someone is trying to get in, but it seems like he or she couldn't. And others are also saying that they can't hear me. They're just pulling through the transcripts or something. I don't know how it works. Is
I
everyone
don't know, but I can hear you from here.
is everyone okay? Can everyone hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, Doc, I can hear you.
Okay. So let's
Yes, I
Mukhtar
can
has
hear
a
you.
question.
Okay.
Mukhtar, go ahead and ask your question.
Sir.
My name is Mukhtar Mohammed from Tamale, Ghana.
Mm.
I do hold a first class honors degree in Bachelor of Science in Communication from the University for Development Studies. And actually, I was a judge during our graduation as the best graduating male student of my department and faculty as well. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
So the question I have here is on my CV, can I include those awards
You
as the
can.
best student of my faculty and department, though there is no physical evidence, there's no certification showing that I was actually the best student of my department and faculty. So this is my question.
Not a problem. I think you can do that here. And please just mute yourself just so we can answer it a bit more concise. So here, in terms of the awards and scholarship, this is essentially your question, and you can equally do that here. I think I'll come to this session and give you guys some detail as to what to put here. So yeah. Any additional question to this? So apart from the education, everyone is okay with the education? Any follow-up questions?
No, I have a question, please.
Go
I
ahead.
think my hand is
Yeah.
okay. So what's the difference between the courses and the relevant courses? Okay, so I didn't read science. I did general arts and SHS, and my electives were government, elective math, and I think yeah. So I want to do a Masters of Public Administration. So I was thinking, can I use two for first? Courses for the courses, the general courses. Can I use like maybe government and elective maths, which will probably cushion my objective, and then use the other two electives as the relevant courses?
Yeah, you can. I think with this particular side, I would rather say just the business studies is okay. Remove the courses here. Just like what you guys see here, it's just a business program. The relevant courses is essentially the 2 pointers here. Maybe math or further math and accounting studies. I'll take this guy out. I'll take this guy out. Maybe it might have repeated itself on top here. So just take it out here. And one thing I would like you guys to also really pay attention to is in terms of these relevant courses, you gotta be very, very careful because when you mention government, I don't think those abroad will have a good understanding of what government is, right? Um, yeah, I don't think they will have a very good understanding of it. But if you say further maths or elective maths, then math is math. They understand what math is. If you say chemistry, physics, all those hardcore related courses, they know it for sure. But in terms of government, I'm not particularly sure whether they understand what government is. So we get to see how to reframe it, right? If it is geography, I understand they will know what geography is. Because if you do what's the name? If you go to secondary school and then you do the art related courses, some of you guys take geography. People know what geography is, right? But for government, it might be something that will be a bit more related to the Ghanaian setting. So just be a bit more careful about that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Now let's move on to the skills.
Brother Farooq,
Yes,
sorry, there is a question that says, I have come across some articles which speaks about if something is on your CV is more than 10 years, like you shouldn't add it. So in a case where like you completed SHS about 10 years ago, should you add that?
That's a very good question. And I don't think that will be related to me. So if you come to my CV, you wouldn't see something related to what's the name? My high school. But the reason why you guys will have something related to your high school is you completed your first degree, I mean 4 years ago, right? Or just now, and your high school will still be relevant. It's not 10 years ago. Your high school will be barely 4 or 5 years ago, right? Remember, what we are trying to do here is get to grad school, right? You just completed your first degree, which is maybe 2023, 2024. You completed your high school. That might be somewhere 2019, if I'm right, or 2020. So it's still relevant. So this is for those who are trying to get into grad school and their high school would then become relevant. But if you're already in the industry like myself, I wouldn't put my high school there. And you guys cannot see high school on my CV. But I'll put my first degree there because it's essential. It's very, very important. First degree is a first degree. Are you guys following the conversation? If you guys need a clarification on it, I'm happy to clarify further.
And I wanted to add that
Hmm.
for like courses like let's say education, maybe someone wants to do like a master's in education and has been out of school for a long time. It doesn't matter if maybe they completed high school 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So far as they have that like teaching experience, that hands-on experience, they can choose to like omit their high school and focus on like their first degree and later talk about their teaching experience because it's one of the things that is like needed in application in like education.
Absolutely. And as you rightly mentioned, education and those sociology related courses, there, just like what I mentioned last week, the fact that you've been out of school for so long is going to be to your advantage because the thought process is that if you are in education and you completed your education like 5 years ago and you are now going to apply for graduate school, within the 5 year window, you've been in the classroom, you've garnered enough experience. So if you're coming for a grad program, you are someone who is more experienced and they are really going to be extremely happy to have you on board. However, if you are someone who did something like mathematics, statistics, and you've been out of school for 5 years, then that will be to your disadvantage because the understanding will be that you are rusty. So let's be careful as to where our strengths and weaknesses are when it comes to the program that we read, how we can play around with it, how that can be designed to suit our CV and make it a point for the grad school to select us. Odia and Kind, happy to follow up. If you have any question, please ask.
My question was with regards to what Fulera was talking about. I did BSc Accounting Education. But prior to attending the university in 2014, I taught a private school for 3 years, and I was asking if I can add that as a teaching experience.
Absolutely. We come to teaching experience and teaching assistantship fairly shortly, but for now we are on the education side, right? So yeah, so
Okay.
I'll tell you guys how to utilize that side as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Then we come to the whole idea of the skills and languages, right? So this is going to be very important. With the skills, you have to know where you fall, right? So those in the sciences, it might be the case that they need something on Python, they need something on LaTeX, they need something on whatever, MATLAB. You have to make it upfront that you are very good with it. And if you need to further clarify, please clarify. So in terms of your skills, it's always good to be pretty much upfront with it and mention it there. So if you look at this particular CV, which might be a bit short, this is the skills and the software and tools that you can utilize, right? Please make it a point to write it. If you are in maybe education, maybe using MS Word will be the most important thing. But if you are in chemistry, maybe understanding MATLAB or Python will be the most important thing. So get to know your field and get to know which software sells better and put it there. And on top of this, those in the sciences, if you're interested in a particular professor's lab, get to see what software he or she is most interested in. Learn about it, learn how to use it, and put it on your CV. Right? So please make it a point to do that. Languages, maybe if you're someone who is in education or probably in political science or maybe in the sociology related programs, maybe understanding one or two languages will be to your benefit. If that's the case, you make it a bit more apparent for them to understand that, hey, this guy is multilingual in some respect and it can be an asset to the department. You can do that. I'm not sure about this particular personal skills. I don't know how it's gonna play out. If you look at the very short version of it, I don't include it. But if you wanna do that, it's mostly up to you. So just want to pause here, take some questions. Before that, please Latif and Fulera come in. Let me know what we can add here or take out.
Yeah, I would just add a little about the languages. So with the programming languages, like Farouk rightly said, when you are applying, it is important to look at, for example, the professor that you want to work with. It is important to know the languages that they use. If you are applying in the sciences like chemistry, and all that, you should be concerned about. Most of them use languages like Origin, MATLAB, Python. So get to know the language that the professor is using, because it makes it very easy for the person to communicate with you once you start your program. Because if you are analyzing your data, you will be involved in writing code, and you need to send your code for the professor to review. If you come out with an analysis or results, the professor would want to know how you got it, and you have to send your code to him. And most of the professor would want to run the code themselves and verify whether what you are presenting is actually what the code gives you. But if it is a situation that the professor doesn't know the language, or the professor doesn't use the language that you are using, it becomes a little bit difficult, because the professor is not familiar with that language. And mind you, the professors here, they tend to master some one or two languages that they know, and they don't like the idea of using multiple languages and all that. So it is important to know the language that your professor is using, and then you can include that in your CV. And if you get an admission, before you come, you start learning that language so that it will be easier for you to communicate with your professor when it comes to research and analysis. Yeah, that's what I'll add to that.
Thanks, Latif. Fulera? Fulera, are you around?
Yeah, I don't have any problem.
Not a problem then. Any questions? Use the mic. If you have your hands up, feel free to use the mic.
Okay. Doc, my question is, when you come to the personal skills, assuming you have your profile, I saw that you wrote that you are a PhD economist, so and so. So assuming under the profile you wrote like maybe some of the personal skills under the profile, do you still need to separate it out in the personal skills and write it under it?
Yeah, I think the personal skill for me, I don't really like adding it. I think someone wanted it, that's why I sort of added it. But if you go to the very short CV that I showed here earlier, you wouldn't see it here. So it's not like do or die, but at the same time, it's something that it's open. It's open, yeah. Do you get it? If you feel like you're repeating yourself and you don't need it, just take it out. All good?
Yes, Doc, thank you.
Welcome. Good. Then comes the most important part, which is your research experience, right? So some of you might go like, hey, I just completed my first degree and I don't have any research experience to show for. And I go like, no, that's not the case. It might be the case that during your final year you had a project or a capstone project. You can use that one as a selling point to indicate to the committee that you are also research oriented or you have some research background to your profile. So this is how to sell it. So if this is the case that you had a semester paper or end of year paper or thesis, you can break it down in this respect just so they can understand who you are in that angle. So for instance, where you did the program, your school, right? Very important. What was the topic? So you can basically frame the topic and put it here. What was the objective? I mean, why was it, important in the first place? You put it there. In terms of the method that you use, if it's a regression-based method that was used, you essentially put it there, right? And in terms of the result that you found, you can equally put it there. And who supervised your work? It might be the case that this is a very renowned professor. You can put it there as well. So at the end of the day, you have 3 or 4 lines on your CV showing to the committee that you do have some research background to your profile, even though it might be a first degree, but it's a first shot at it. Let me pause here. If you guys have any question or questions, happy to pick it up. But before that, again, Latif can take over and we can deliberate on it.
Yeah, so what I want to add to that is that you should keep it very short. You should really keep it short. So, for example, the objective, method, and then the results, try to keep it really short. You don't have to write a page on that side talking about so many things. Just keep it very short. What was the objective? What were you trying to achieve? 1 line or 2 lines should be good. And I know the method that you use, did you use a qualitative approach or quantitative approach? Just go straight to the point. It is either it's regression analysis or what the results briefly. You don't have to write a full page on that. Remember, don't suffocate the admission committee. So that's what I'll add to that. Make it brief.
Sure. So let's agree. Fulera, any pointers?
Yeah, so just like like you said, on making it brief, if you think you want to hit more on your findings or how it has influenced your the degree you are going to pursue at the graduate level. You can talk about this in your essay, especially if you be following a thesis route and you already have like a research topic in mind. You can link your findings or anything you experience in that research to your graduate studies in your essay. Yeah.
Thanks, Latif. Fulera and Latif. Do you guys have any questions on this? If not, we can move on to the next one, which is your teaching experience. Good. So now teaching experience is going to be very important. And I see people make a mistake here. If you are from the universities, be it University of Ghana or KNUST or Winneba or Cape Coast or UDS, some of you are very lucky to serve as teaching assistants. Now, you have to leverage this opportunity. It is going to be very important because when you come to the grad in school, be it in Manitoba, in Toronto, in Saskatchewan, they sometimes have some teaching positions to give. And it's up to you to make a point that you also have some teaching experience to your background. So in my case, when I completed University of Ghana, I had the opportunity to be with the statistics department where I assisted with teaching in terms of me being a teaching assistant. So when it comes to my CV, I first of all have to make it a point that I tell everyone who is trying to understand my profile that, hey, I did serve as at a department, which is a department of economics or department of statistics in my case. The name of the school, for sure, I need to mention. Then the courses will follow. You should not be silent about the courses that you taught. You have to make it known to them that these are the courses that I assisted with. Then again, the course code is going to be very, very important. You see someone go like, I taught macroeconomics and he's silent about the course code. Or I taught political science and he or she is silent about the course code. Now, what the course code does is it tells the level of maturity associated with the course. If, for instance, I taught Econ 305, it means I taught a 300 level related course. And these are pretty much mature students. And this particular course, it goes to say that this particular course is also a very difficult course because it's not a beginner course, it's an intermediate course. So your course code is going to be very important. It differentiates from a 100 level related program from a 300 or 400 level related program. I'm not saying when you teach a 100 level related program is bad. No, it's just that when you have the mixture of the two, it helps. When you teach a 300 level related program, it means you have a deeper understanding of the course. If you teach a 100 level related program, it means you can handle a larger class size. These are some of the things that you can pick up from these course codes. So let me pause here. If you guys have any question, let me know. But just to repeat, it is important that you break the number of courses that you assisted with together with the course code just so they can understand what you've done. Latif and Fulera, feel free to add
Yeah.
your yeah.
Yeah. So I also want to add that if you are a teaching assistant, you also help your professor or your lecturer in conducting research. It is also important to add that. So maybe you can make a teaching and research assistantship. So, and then mention that as well, and also add that you also assisted your professor in data collection or cleaning or something like that. So, in addition to your teaching assistantship job, you also assisted in research work. So you should not forget to add that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fulera, any pointers to this?
Yeah, so I would say for those in education again, if you don't have any teaching assistant like experience, we would like to mention like your teaching experience, especially the gap year whilst you were teaching. Sometimes they want to know like the context, the backgrounds of students, and because as you are taking an education course here, students in Canada, for example, are from like different background because of its multicultural nature. So you have to like mention the grade level of students, their background, or if it's like English, you are teaching English as a second language, as an additional language. Like it's very important to show them that you have like experience teaching students from varied backgrounds or teaching students different subjects. So you would want to mention those ones. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree, Fulera. Do you guys have any questions on this before we go on to what Latif just mentioned right now? Any questions? Yeah, Josephine, go ahead.
Hi. So what about some of us who didn't have teaching experience back on campus? Right from campus, we went into national service, which was not teaching assistant
Is that
experience.
so? I think that's gonna be you guys who have more on the work experience end compared to those who served as teaching assistants, right? So this is gonna be the pro and con in some respects, right? But it's always the case. If you guys are in your final year right now and you are thinking about whether I should go into industry or I should just stick with the department, if you really want to get into grad school after your national service, then being a teaching assistant is the way to go because there are a lot of benefits that are associated with it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go into the industry if you want to. I just have a feeling that being a teaching assistant is very good in some respect. Latif, what's your call here?
Yeah, like you rightly said, being a teaching assistant kind of gives you it gives them the feeling that you are actually in an environment and you are familiar with most of the things that they will be doing, and you are in the environment with their colleagues elsewhere. So it gives you that leverage. But if you happen to do your national service outside campus, maybe you happen to be in a research firm or something, you should be able to put that there and then talk about what you are doing in that particular research firm, whether you are doing data analysis or you are doing presentation or report writing and all that, you should be able to put it there. It doesn't hurt to actually put it there. And being a teaching assistant doesn't mean that you are automatically going to get an admission over somebody who is doing national service elsewhere. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. I have seen people who are teaching assistant and never got admission, and people who get their national service outside campus and they got admission with it. So to it how the so don't think you are not being a teaching assistant would be a disadvantage to you. It's all about how you leverage your experience in your national service position to get the admission.
Absolutely. I agree, 100%.
Esther can go ahead with your question. Sorry, I can't pronounce your first name. So
Okay, good evening. That's Onyechi.
okay.
Okay, good evening. Okay, my question is, I had an teaching assistant role, but it was not official. Like from my third year, I was handling some second year in analytical chemistry. Then before my national service, 1 year after I graduated, I assisted my lecturers in some teaching some courses, but it was not an official employment from the school. Like I worked with my HOD. Should I add it or I should just keep it aside?
No, you should. I think if you're able to get that, what's the name, that experience, it doesn't hurt. And it's always the case that you be a bit more upfront with it, right? So if you look at this particular point that Latif mentioned earlier, which we're just about to mention, you have to make it known to them what your role is, right? So if, for instance,
Okay.
you're helping the professors, it might be the case that you are helping them with grading, or you are helping them with some other related duty that a teaching assistant will do. You can just make it a bit more upfront. My role was, you write it there, right? And that can equally help you.
Okay,
You
second, I don't know if this one comes in the second one since I have opportunity now. So, secondly, during my there is what we call IT.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, we do 6 months IT throughout our second. My third year, second semester is IT. So in my IT, I served in national roots and crops, and I was in the lab, about 3 labs. So should that experience come under a research assistant too?
Yeah, it should. It should. Anything that you have, you just have to make it a point that you sell it. And but
Okay.
just so you know, sometimes those in the sciences, you do have one-on-one interview with the professor who does the lab. It's always the case that you know
Okay.
exactly you just we just don't have to write anything for writing's sake. If you write something on your
Okay.
CV, just make sure you can stand behind it. So it's always the case that
Okay.
if I write something, I can defend it. So I would advise you write it, but just make sure you know your rules when and whatever you did, and you can defend it if
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
Now, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, good evening.
Even now. Yeah.
My question is, I'm currently. Hello, please can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
we can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my question, I'm currently a teaching assistant. I'm working with a lecturer who doesn't teach my major. And then earlier, you were saying something about putting the course code there. So if I write the course code, obviously, they will know it has nothing to do with my major. I want to do nutrition and dietetics, and I'm working with a lecturer who teaches entrepreneurship and TVET. So is it still relevant to put it there since it doesn't have direct link to the food?
Yeah, so I think this is an important question, right? So if you take teaching as teaching, right? So in your case, you are just looking at it in terms of how it might be related to your program of interest. Well, there your question is valid. But if you are to look at teaching in a more holistic manner, then it's not all about teaching a program that is related to your course. It's about taking responsibility. It's about leading, which is leadership. It's about your ability to transfer knowledge, right? So you can write it, right? I wouldn't say you shouldn't. I would rather say you should. If this is the case that writing the course code will not yield to your benefit, you can decide not to put it there. But regardless, it's always the case that you put the teaching role there. Let's see if what do you think? Do you think the course code will be important in this respect, or we just leave it as she just taught?
Yeah, I think you should put it there because again, it tells the admission committee that outside your field, you can also explore other areas as well, because sometimes you can get into a master's program, and because of the nature of your research work, your professor can ask you to take a course in a different department because that particular course would help you to understand your research work. So it's kind of like a collaboration, even in the universities here, when the professors are publishing, they don't necessarily collaborate with people in their field. They sometimes go outside their field. You see an economist collaborating with a biologist to publish a paper. So I would say that you should definitely put it on your resume. It doesn't hurt, and also add a course code as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Latif. Any additional questions? If not, then I can quickly go to the research assistantship. So this is what Latif mentioned earlier, right? So it might be the case that you are helping a particular professor in terms of teaching, but they will occasionally ask you to do some research related duty. So this is where the research assistantship also comes in. So if you know the particular research you are working on, again, here the topic, the objective, the method used, who was the leader, and your role, right? So here you are not the primary researcher, so you have to be a bit more upfront and then tell them that, hey, I was involved in terms of data collection, I was involved in terms of this or that. So this is going to be a bit different in terms of your primary role here, where you did your own research compared to where you assisted as a research assistant, or in terms of you being in the lab and you assisted with the lab work. Good. Then again, I think Latif already touched on this, so I can move on. Latif, do you have any pointers, or we can go ahead?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Good. Then after that comes the whole idea of the award and scholarship that the first I think was it Suleiman also asked. So here you can mention the award that you had, right? Maybe the best graduating student, but there's always the case that you can further elaborate on it. The reason why is my internet stable now? Latif, is my internet stable?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. There's always a case that you have to,
Yeah,
give
it is.
good. You give 1 or 2 pointers as to why you were giving, as to why you won the award, because there are two types of awards. The very first one might be merit-based, right? Where they gave you the award because you deserved it based on your academics. And there is also an award that can be given to you just on compassion base. Maybe you are just suffering as a student and you don't have enough money to pay your fees, and they will just give you a bursary because of that situation. This is not a merit-based award. They're just giving you out of sympathy, right? So when you surely win an award, there's always the case that you can explain it a bit better, and it's mostly up to you. So I won this particular award because I was the best graduating student. Let me see what I wrote here. Yeah. Why you won that particular award? Yeah. You won this because of that. You give a brief explanation to that. So that will be the award and scholarship session. Latif, if you have any pointers, let me know, and you can add them as well.
Yeah, so yeah, I think what I'll add is that adding the award part is very, very important if you happen to win some award. And you should be careful about the type of award that you put there, because you are looking for admission to a graduate program. So if you've won an award that is not related to academics, I don't really think it is really necessary to put it there. So all your awards should be related to academics. I personally put mine there, and all the awards was related to academics, whether you are being a best graduating student or you won an award for a particular course or something. You should be able to put it there. So you should be very careful with the type of award that you put there, because I have reviewed some CVs in the past, and you will see the person putting an unrelated award that would not give you the chance, So know the type of award that you write there.
Absolutely. Fulera, anything to add to what Latif just mentioned?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the award session. Do you guys have any questions? If not, we can move on to the next part.
I think I have a question here. The person said, if you have submitted a manuscript for publication which has gone through desktop review and all, it is advisable to put it on your CV. Yeah, I would say yes, it is advisable to include a submitted manuscript on your CV, especially if it has passed through desktop review stage. However, you should clearly indicate that it is still under review and not yet published. So an example is you should indicate that manuscript under manuscript under review or submitted for publication. So this, if you do that, it shows the potential admission committee that you are actively engaged in research and contributing to your field, even if the publication process hasn't yet been completed. So, and this is very common in academia and research related CV, so you should put it there.
Absolutely.
Farouk, if you have something to add to that.
I think that's that you just nailed it. I think that's mostly the process. Yeah. Thank you very much, Latif. Now, in terms of your conferences,
So we can go on.
Good. I think we can now go on to the conferences and the workshop. If you have any that you've attended that are relevant, you can equally add them. So what I would like you guys to really pay attention to what we've done so far. So far from section 1, which is the education, up until the very last session here, which is the conferences and workshops, they all talk about your education. There's not been a mention of your work experience, right? So this is how your academic CV should look. Sometimes you tend to come across a CV that's supposed to be academic, but you tend to see that their emphasis is more on their work experience, which is not it. So just be a bit more strategic as to how you position your academic CV and where to put what section, right? So again, here, please keep an eye on how we structured it. So this comes here in terms of your work experience. And just like what Josephine asked earlier, if this is the case that you had no teaching experience, this is going to be your strength. You have to strengthen this area. Make sure you tell the committee exactly what you did. So if you did a national service at a particular company, you just don't go say like national service company A and does it. You have to specify what you did. I ran different type of reports. I did this, I did that, I did that. So these are specific roles that you performed during your national service or during your stay at a company. So this is going to be your work experience. Any questions before we move on to the next slide, which is the volunteership? Latif, any pointers on this?
No.
Okay. Fulera, anything on the teaching end that could be added here? Yeah, Josephine, go ahead before.
No.
Josephine, you can go.
Yes, so under work experience, please can you add experience from internships?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm thinking for some of us who didn't have teaching as assistantship opportunities and we just went right into the industry, I am thinking, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the work experience could be our opportunity to, list down our experiences and probably intertwine with the program that we want to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And this is what Fulera mentioned earlier. Those in teaching, I think this is where you guys might probably want to pay attention to because that gap, that 5-year gap, this is where it's gonna show, right? So if you've been out of school for 5 years and you're in teaching and you've been in the classroom for that 5 years, this is where you guys have to make sure that it's related to the program that you're gonna apply to. And just like what Josephine mentioned, even if you're not into teaching and you want to make it relevant to whatever you are trying to apply to, this is where, and you don't have the teaching experience to show for it, this is where you guys can leverage. Okay. Then comes the final part. If you have any extracurricular activity or you sort of volunteer here and there, I think they really like the idea. Latif, I don't know about your experience in Saskatchewan, but I think my experience in, what's the name? In Manitoba and probably in British Columbia is that if you tend to volunteer, they really appreciate that. I think it's a Canadian thing. Latif, please take it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is very, very important. They really like it. I remember during my time, I was the vice president for the Economic Student Association. So, and also volunteered when I did some internship with the United Nations. They wanted me to establish a club on campus. So that was really great, and it helps you not just to the admission committee, but after you graduate from your school and then you are looking for a job. It is a good experience, and they really like to see that. So the volunteering could be anything that you are kind of passionate about outside your academics. It could be going to the beach to to make sure that the beaches, or you are volunteering to help your community, to clean your community or anything. So they really like that aspect. So if you do have an experience of that nature, you should definitely add that to that. So it's a Canadian thing, and they like it a lot. So, and also in the US as well. So it's not limited to Canada. North America in general, they like that experience.
Thank you very much, Latif. Fulera, what have you volunteered for?
Yeah, volunteering is very important. I remember I added my volunteer as like we embarked on a literacy project and all, and it was kind of related to my master's program on like language and literacy. So it's very important to include your volunteer experience and also some of the things maybe you gain from it, which you can expand more in your SOP. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you very much, Fulera. So I think we're gonna end here. The supervisor and referee, I don't think that will be that crucial. You can decide to take it out. From the discussion we had last year, I think some of the students were of the view that probably we wouldn't need it. Others are of the view that you need it. Now, given that point, I think I would just try and omit it as it stands now. If you guys really want it, you can add it to it. I'll take some final questions, then we call it a night. From my end. Any questions from there, Latif?
Josephine, you can ask your question while I go through the comment section.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. So I think for some of the CVs, I see leadership experience, but or was it? I don't know, but I don't see it here.
Yeah, so
Leadership experience.
yeah, I think I might be wrong. Latif, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's something like leadership experience to be precise. I think they can read it from what you wrote, right? So if it's the case that you are volunteering, then I know for sure that you are someone who is very passionate about maybe the whole idea of humanity, and it might come in to speak about your leadership experience. If you are someone who has been in the classroom and assisted with students a lot based on your teaching experience, then for sure I can glean from that and go like, hey, this guy has some leadership experience in that respect. But I don't think there is something quite explicit that we need to write that leadership experience section. Latif, I don't know whether you've come across it. If you come across it, please share any experience that you might have with that.
Yeah, I don't think I've come across that. It's all goes down to the volunteering section, but for leadership, no, I haven't come across that.
Fulera, leadership experience on your end?
Not really. Sometimes some people put it together with the volunteering experience.
Okay.
Something like. And also, I wanted to ask, okay, when you're done, just when you're.
No, please go ahead, because you just drew my attention to something. I mean, the fact that you're all saying that, and most of the times the leadership is quite linked to the volunteering aspects is just clicked something in my mind. So please go ahead before that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to know for like, let's say certificates, maybe some people did some certificate programs that are recognized, maybe Google like certificate, or even sometimes in like education field, maybe in service training, professional development, that they have like certificates to show for. Where is it appropriate to add those ones?
I think in terms of my CV, I sort of put it just after my education because it's more related to the whole idea of seeking knowledge, right? So as you can see, there's the education section, then there's the certification section just after the education. And that should be the best approach. I don't, Latif, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think it should come around your education before your work experience. I think the certification is very important. If you have any, you should be able to put it there, maybe right after your education or your research experience, you should be able to put it there. You shouldn't mix it. You should really structure your CV in such a way that like there should be some chronological order when they see your education level, your certificate, your research. So you should put it around that section. Yeah, that's a good question. If you have done some certification, you should definitely put it there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any follow-ups on this, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, another question concerning the unrelated course. So with the certification, what if you maybe took part in some conferences or whatever, but then it's not related to your program? Can you still add it, or it's not necessary?
Is this a conference or a certificate? We probably have to differentiate between the two.
Well, let's say seminar, and then I was given a certificate at the end, but it has nothing to do with nutrition or food.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. You would, let me see. I think you go here, you see this guy here, which is the conferences and workshops, right? If you participate and you are more of a presenter or a participant or an organizer, this is where workshops and conferences are. If you happen to be a presenter, fine. But in your case, you might be an organizer. You can put the organizer here. Yeah, you wouldn't need a certificate to show for it. It just goes to show that, hey, you're someone who volunteered or, organizes particular seminar. So with the seminar as well, or the workshops as well that people attend, if you attended and you are a presenter, you write it there. But if you did attend and you are more or less like someone who really organized it, you just put your role here as the organizer. The certificate wouldn't be that relevant. All good? Nah, are you guys there? Sorry, I might have lost you. Latif?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Yeah. So I think that should answer the question, unless, of course, there is a need for further clarification. Yeah, go ahead.
Those,
We take two or three questions and we call it a night. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry if I'm asking so many
No,
questions,
go ahead.
but
Go ahead. It's very important. Yeah.
okay, so after we are done, so we want to find out how we can send the CVs and the SOPs to you when we are done, so
Yeah.
that
So
you can help us, guide us.
yeah. So I think with the CV is going to be fairly straightforward in the sense that we now have the rubric, right? And I'm gonna send you guys the template. So whatever you see here, you can just put it here. I think I did mention earlier. So this is going to be a 10-minute guide. You can just use this guide and you get the CV right away. And whatever you need to write there, you can just put it there and everything should be fairly straightforward. So for the CV, I don't think it's going to be too much if you guys are to follow what we discussed today, right? Just like you copy and paste and just make sure that it suits your setting. For the SOP session, I think I'll talk to Lawyer Shafiq get to see whether he has time. If he has, then he'll walk you guys through the SOP session as well. And get to see how you guys can write your SOP. But the difficulty with the SOP is that everyone will have a different story. And I mentioned there are about 800 of you on the platform. It will be very difficult for me to go through each and everyone's SOP. So the only advantage that you guys might have is if you're part of the last 40 or 50 or 60 students selected, and I have time to go through the SOP, then I can go through the individuals that were selected and go like, okay, your SOP is good, but let's have a look at this session pretty fast out of the 60 or so student. But I cannot, it's going to be impossible to go through the 800. So I encourage everyone to go through the CV session. Make sure you have a very good CV. I'll ask everyone to resubmit it again. I'll make a call as to those who are going to get the final $50. If you have the final $50, if I'm about to give you the money or for the submission, I can just go through your CV and then go through your SOP. If I have much time, then I can help you guys edit it. Then we can just submit it right away. Esther, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Okay, my question is with regards to conferences and work experience. So for conferences, I attended conferences for students of Chemical Society of Nigeria. So throughout my undergraduate days, I was attending the conferences. Professors comes for paper presentation. So is it possible to come under conferences and workshop?
Yeah, just make it simple. If it's a conference that's related to your field, just make sure you mention it. But it shouldn't be too much because these conferences might be a lot. They shouldn't exhaust
Okay.
page. Yeah, it shouldn't be too much.
Okay, work experience. Like along the line, I worked as I did chemistry, but along the line, I worked as a finance person. Should I remove that part and just add only the work experience related to chemistry?
Just like what Latif mentioned earlier, if this is a case that you have extra space on your CV and you want to show that you are versatile, why not? You can just write it there, right?
Okay.
It shouldn't take too much. But you can show that you're someone who is versatile and you can take several fields, to your portfolio.
Okay.
Final question, you're most welcome. Any final questions in there?
Thank you.
Okay, then I'll give Latif the final word and Fulera will close it. Then we just say bye to everyone. Latif, please go ahead.
Yeah, so what I want to say, my final words is this. With the CV, I encourage each and everyone to keep it really brief. You don't have to submit a 5 pages or 6 pages CV. No, make sure that you keep it brief. I would advise that a maximum of 2 pages should be good for you. Then also you should make sure that you include all that Farouk has presented, and you would have the recorded version. Don't include things that may not be relevant for your admission process. For example, you don't need to include your religious or marital status or your age, that kind of thing. You don't have to include those things. So keep it very simple and keep it very short and go straight to the point. So, and I wish you all the best in your CV, and we are here. If you finish with your CV, you can always send it out for review, or if you have further questions, just drop it in the group page and we will be around to assist you. Thanks.
Thanks, Latif. Thank you very much, Latif. Appreciate that. Fulera, any final pointers?
Yeah, I would say that please let's take note of everything we are discussing here. From my experience, like this CV format and even using of LaTeX has really helped me. And even after writing an academic CV, I've been using it for all my other CVs, even if it's work related. And please, all the videos, if you need to rewatch them keenly to see how like listen to the explanations again and work on your either CV, either SOPs. Please read them and like listen to the videos and watch them very well, because sometimes we have like meetings like this, discuss it, and you like ask us questions we've already answered here. So please take your time. From my experience, I remember I used to like rewatch the videos, like the meetings, Zoom meetings we've had with Brother Farouk and the rest, so that I'll be able to craft my CV, my SOP to feel like what I'm going to apply for. Yeah, so that is like all I have to say, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Fulera. And once again, thank you very much to Latif and Fulera for making time. I'm very, very, grateful for this help and assistance and getting your insight. And to everyone here, again, I wish you guys all the best. As Latif rightly mentioned, we are here to help you. And what Fulera also mentioned, please, we make it a point to make the video available just so you can help yourself at your own convenient time. Please make sure you utilize those resources. And if you are to have any question, please let me know. We might be able to jump in and help. Okay, all the best. And then we are looking forward to the next discussion, which will be the SOP session. I'll try and talk to lawyer Shafiq and get to see whether we can have some session with him as well. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Latif. Bye, Fulera. Bye, everyone.
Bye.